I'm here to present my topic, computational prediction tool for identifying plastic degrading microbes. I'm working as Dean Academics and Associate Professor at St. Aloysius College, Bangalore, India. My outline of my presentation is I'll be giving a brief introduction, then materials and methods where I'll be describing data sets, features, classifiers, and the different evaluation metrics used. I'll be talking about my results, conclusion, and references. Now, the introduction, the basic objective of doing this particular research is I thought I'll take plastic pollution as my objective because, plastic is something, a serious problem throughout the world. The basic problem of plastic is that it takes long time to degrade or long time to decompose. For example, if you take the case of a plastic bottle, it can last in the environment for up to 500 years. So just I've shown you a picture where you have heaps of plastics dumped around. So this will create a mountain kind of situations, and it will be like very difficult to uh, overcome such problems. So, but plastic is something which is unavoidable in our daily life, right? So you have uh, the different kitchen utensils which are made of plastic. You have your slipper made of plastic, bags. So there are so many things. So it's not so easy to avoid plastics. So how do you overcome such problem? The only solution which you can do is something where you can degrade this plastic materials. Now, how do you degrade this? So I know this particular question when I'm asking this, I'm asking this to many of biologists. So you know definitely that there are many microbes and bacteriums which are available for degrading plastic. So my work is not to find out these microbes or bacteriums. So in my case, since I'm a computational person as well as a bioinformatician, so my area is actually to develop a prediction tool for predicting this degrading microbes. So a prediction tool which actually will help the biologists in case they come across a new microbe. So to find out whether it is a degrading microbe or not, instead of going to a wet lab, that can be done in this particular prediction tool. Now talking about the materials and methods, the first and foremost thing which is the important first and foremost thing which has to be done in a computational prediction tool is to collect the data set. So now in this case, when I was working on this particular project, I had two of my PG students who actually collected the information with respect to many research articles, and they could find that many researchers have come across many degradable microbes which have this property of degradation. And after taking those data sets and also later doing some bioinformatic analysis and doing sequence analysis using BLAST, we could collect some more microbes. And like this, we have collected around 9,000 positive sequences and around 6,000 negative sequences. Negative sequences, we can collect as many we want. But since we had 9,000 positive sequences, we limited ourselves to 6,000 negative sequences. So once I collected my data set, the next thing was what are the features which I'm going to use for these protein sequences. So all these were protein sequences. So what are the features which I'm going to use? So I used around 8 features: amino acid count, then I used amino acid ratio, dipeptide, hydrophobicity, hydrophilicity, acidity, and basicity. So in all these cases, I was counting the number of amino acids which are responsible for that particular characteristic. So talking about a bit more about the different features. So amino acid count, as many of you know already, that we have 20 amino acids in a protein sequence. So the feature vector for this particular feature was 20. Okay, the dimension size of this particular feature vector was 20. And the equation used was just counting the number of amino acids. We had not normalized this particular amino acid count. We just took the count whatever we were getting for that particular sequence. Then we took amino acid ratio. Again, the dimension size was 20 because it was again counting the number of amino acids. Only difference with respect to the previous one was we were dividing it by the length of the sequence also. So we were getting a value between 0 and 1. So this was the equation which was used for calculating the amino acid ratio. Then we had the dipeptide count. So dipeptide count is nothing but the count of the dipeptides. And here the dimension size was 400. So dipeptide, I don't have to explain it to you. It is nothing but the combination of two amino acids. Okay, that will form dipeptide. So here in my example, in my experiment, for example, if I take a protein sequence of any size of length n, so I was counting the count of A1, A2, then A2, A3, then A3, A4, like that, AN minus 1 AN. So like that, I was counting the different counts of the dipeptide. So hence the dimension size was 400. The rest of the features I have not explained here because it was just the count of the different amino acids. Like for example, hydrophobicity, hydrophilicity, acidity, basicity, all was the different counts of the corresponding amino acids. Once I had fixed the set of features, selected the features, next thing was what are the classifiers which I am going to use. So I have decided for supervised machine learning classifiers. So I took 4 of the well-known classifier, SMO, which I'll be expanding. All these are, I have just put the acronyms here, SMO, MLP, IBK, and J48. I'll be expanding all of these classifiers in my next slides. So now to run all these different classifiers, I have used Weka, which is nothing but Vekato Environment of Knowledge Analysis, which is developed by some New Zealand people. So it is actually a well-known data mining as well as machine learning tool. So I have used Weka for running these 4 classifiers. Okay, let me just talk a little more about the different machine learning classifiers. Sequential minimum optimization is just a modification of support vector machine. So support vector machine, I think it's a well-known statistical classifier which has been very widely used for biological tools, and it is an efficient optimization algorithm used inside SVM implementation. So it is an effective method for training support vector machine, especially for sparse data sets. And it is compared to SVM, this is much more used because it does not require a quadratic programming solver. Hence, it is much faster than SVM. Talking about multi-layer perceptron, in short, which is called MLP, it is nothing but ANN, artificial neural network. So you have 3 layers in this: input layer, hidden layer, and output layer. So you can mention as number of hidden layers if you want. And in this, the activation functions which are used in the hidden layers and the output layer is the logistic function. And also, we were using the gradient descent and loss function, so which are all inbuilt in this. The next classifier which I'm going to talk about is instance-based learner, which is a name given in Weka, but this is the very commonly used k nearest neighbor. Okay, where we can give different values for k. So here, based on the number of classifiers, based on the number of k, what is the value of k nearest neighbors you are using, you are having a distance measure and you are measuring the distance of each of the instances to this k. Then you have J48, which is the name given for the classifier in Weka. This is again the very commonly used decision tree classifier, where in the decision tree classifier, among the different attributes, among the 7 to 8 attributes which I have, the best attribute will be chosen and it will be put in the root to create the decision tree. Again, to have the best accuracy, this can be further modified by pruning the decision tree. So once I have created my data set, I need not do any pre-processing because the data set was directly taken from UniProt and NCBI. So I did not go for any data pre-processing step. After that, I selected my features, 8 features I selected. Then I used a supervised machine learning classifiers, 4 machine learning classifiers I used, created the models. Once I created the model, the next important thing comes is to measure or evaluate the metrics, to evaluate the different models. So for this, I have used 4 different evaluation metrics: sensitivity, specificity, accuracy, and ROC curve. So sensitivity measures the positivity, that is the how much model is trying to evaluate the positive instances. Specificity is with respect to the negative instances. Accuracy measures the reliability. ROC curve again measures the reliability, but in terms of graphical representation. So those things I've already shown in the result part. So this is my workflow. So initially I have collected my data, which I've already shown you the positive and negative sequences. Since I did not require any data pre-processing steps, I directly went on to feature selection, where I selected my 8 features. After selecting the features, next thing was data splitting, where I split my data into positive and negative sequences in the ratio 60-40. After doing that, I built the model with the 4 classifiers which I have mentioned. After creating the model, next thing was to evaluate the model. I have to validate the model. Okay. So coming on to my results. So first result I'll show with respect to my classifier support vector sequential minimum optimization. So in the result, I could find that amino acid count, dipeptide and hydrophobicity gave an accuracy of 100%. And this is the ROC curve. I have not got up to 1. It is around 0.98. So this is the ROC curve of only amino acid count I have shown, because others I was getting less than this. Then this is the result of MLP. Again, I was getting 100% for amino acid count, dipeptide and hydrophobicity. I was getting an ROC curve of less than 1. That again is 0.99, but not 1. Now this is a result which I was getting for J48. Again, amino acid count, dipeptide and hydrophobicity got up 100% accuracy. But if you look at the ROC curve, it was 0.99. Now this is the result for IBK. Here accuracy and ROC curve, if you look, this is amino acid count, which I was getting 100% accuracy, as well as ROC curve of 1, which I did not get for any other classifiers. But dipeptide hydrophobicity, though I got 100%, but I was not getting a ROC curve of 1. So now here, though we were getting in all the 3 100% accuracy, we can just leave out dipeptide because it had a feature dimension of 400. So it was such a huge feature vector. So we could just neglect that. Then other two, I actually compared those two with respect to other evaluation metrics. And then I could come to the conclusion that amino acid count along with the ROC curve which we getting is best for IBK. Okay, so we can conclude that amino acid count was the best. So in my conclusion, and this before the conclusion, I would like to show you the comparison of the accuracies which I have plotted in the histogram. So this histogram very well shows that all the 3 which I said, amino acid count, dipeptide and hydrophobicity, is having 100% accuracy throughout. But then ROC curve I have shown individually over there, and we could find that ROC curve for amino acid count for IBK was 1. So with respect to 2 evaluation metrics, we could conclude that amino acid count is the best for IBK. So this is what I have shown in the conclusion. So in conclusion, I would like to say that amino acid count turns out to be the best, having 100% accuracy and ROC curve of value 1. So among the 4 classifiers, all the 4 classifiers were giving a good result. But in the case of IBK, we could find that amino acid was giving a value of 1, whereas in the other cases, it was not giving a value of 1. So we could conclude that among the 4 classifiers, IBK with k equal to 1 was giving a very good result. Now, continuation of this work, we are in the verge of building a user-based interface, a prediction tool for biologists. So the next question you would ask is, like, what is the use for the biologists? So biologists, in case they come across a new microbe, instead of working out in the wet lab, definitely they have to work in the wet lab. But before working in the wet lab, actually, with this prediction tool, with this model, they can actually find out whether the microbe is a degradable microbe or not. If the tool says yes, then they can further work in the lab. So this will definitely reduce the total work time and also the chemicals involved. So overall, it will be helping the biologists. So these are my few references which I have used. I have not kept some of the references I have kept. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity for presenting. I'm happy to receive any number of questions. Thank you.